Sox fall in the finale, and the Blue Jays sweep the Red Sox here at Fenway.
Well, we all know the story here. The Red Sox are unraveling in a free fall at this stage. They've lost 9 of 10. Roster beaten up. Cleveland Guardians come in here tomorrow, but they got to find some ways to score some runs here and win some games if they want to get back into it by that trade deadline.
Maz, results aside, been a pleasure working with you this weekend.
Likewise, Mike. Very
All
much
right.
so.
For our crew behind the scenes, for Jabbai, Tony, Mike Monaco, sending you out to Adam.
We welcome you into NESN's Wasabi Fenway studio. Proud to partner with Wasabi Technologies here at this beautiful spot overlooking the ballpark. Anything but beautiful baseball, though, this weekend for the Red Sox, who dropped the series finale against the Blue Jays, 8-4 your final. They are swept aside by the Jays in this series, outscored 37-13, including that 28-5 Game 1. They are now 12-29 against the American League East. They are 0-11-1 in series against the AL East, and they are looking for answers right now as a team with the trade deadline just over a week away and them slipping out of playoff contention with each passing game. Meanwhile, in Cooperstown, a much happier day. David Ortiz inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Big Papi delivering his acceptance speech. Lasted just over 18 minutes, and we will run that in its entirety right here on the postgame show as we welcome you to WB Mason Extra Innings Live. Who but WB Mason, delivering since 1898. I'm Adam Peller, alongside Lenny DiNardo. Tom Caron is in Cooperstown. He has been all weekend for the festivities, including the finale with David Ortiz and his acceptance speech into the Baseball Hall of Fame. It was a great weekend in Cooperstown. It wasn't a great weekend here for baseball. We will have reaction to the Red Sox loss, but we're going wall to wall with David Ortiz as he gets inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And what a weekend in Cooperstown. Us, of course, watching from afar, seeing the Hall of Fame parade yesterday, seeing David Ortiz in all of his glory, and then delivering an outstanding acceptance speech, which, again, we will run in its entirety right here on NESN.
Yeah, I have. I've seen little excerpts, but I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing that, and congrats to him. It's well-deserved, and I tell you what, we talk about the player all the time. I love talking about the person. What you see is what you get. He makes everybody feel like, you know, his best friend, and for me, being his teammate, it's a really special day. It's a really special day for Boston in general. He's a son of Boston. He's a son of Dominican. It's a lot of pride there. David
Ortiz on the first ballot, inducted into the Red Sox, into the Baseball Hall of Fame. He was inducted to the Red Sox Hall of Fame back in May. But a great day in Cooperstown as Big Papi, along with 6 others, inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, including Buck O'Neil, Minnie Minoso, Tony Oliva, who had called for Louis Tiant to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, which was a great moment there. Meanwhile, David Ortiz, here is a clip of his acceptance speech talking about the fans and the people of Boston.
It's been almost 20 years since my first day in Boston. We have some incredible memories. When I think about Boston, I definitely think about 2004, 2007, and of course 2013. After the city was shaken by a marathon bombing, I had never seen a community bounce back and reunite like Boston. When I think about Boston, I also think about the last game I played. Standing on that field at Fenway Park, it feels like the whole city of New England and each one and every one of you was surrounding me and was showing me all your love. I will always be Boston, and I will always be there for you, Boston. I love you, Boston. From Mr. John Henry to Linda Henry to Tom Werner to Larry Lucchino, Phil Morris, who was there when I came to Boston, and of course, my man, Sam Kennedy. I can thank you guys enough for building me up and supporting me throughout the years. I also want to thank my man, John McCormick, who was the traveling secretary at the time while I played, and my little sis, Pam Kim. That organization made me the man that I am today. They educate me about the game, but they also educate me about my life. Community service, connecting with people, the Jimmy Fund, the Children Fund. That's why I started the David Ortiz Children Fund that have provided life-saving heart surgery for children in the Dominican Republic and New England.
So that was 90 seconds of David Ortiz's acceptance speech, and that could have been it's in entirety there, right? With him thanking people, showing gratitude, talking about his connection to the city of Boston, talking about the Jimmy Fund, the David Ortiz Children's Fund, getting involved in the community. I mean, even in that 90 seconds, that was perfect.
Yeah, for me, it's such a rock star. You know David Ortiz. If you know David, you know he's got a list that looks like probably Santa's list, right? The number of people that he probably wants to thank because, you know, he's that type of individual. He's a rock star, but he's extremely humble, and you know he wants to give thanks to all the people that helped prop him up to get him where he is today.
All right, so that was just a small sample size of David Ortiz's acceptance speech, and coming up a little bit later on the post-game show, we will run David Ortiz's acceptance speech in its entirety as we continue our coverage from Cooperstown now with Tom Caron, who got reaction from David Ortiz following his speech.
David Ortiz thanked numerous scouts and coaches, managers, teammates, and the fans who supported him over the years. He said, when you believe in someone, you can change their world. You can change their future. And now, forevermore, David Ortiz's future is here in Cooperstown as a member of the Hall of Fame. After the ceremony, he spoke about the emotions he felt today.
Man, I haven't processed it yet, you know. Gonna take me a minute, but at some point, you know, I always get to watch some of the Hall of Fame induction on TV, more likely. When Pedro was inducted, I was still playing, so it was like my first time around here and during induction, and I'm so used to watch it on TV that I couldn't believe it that I was sitting out there with all the superstars or with the greatest, you know what I'm saying? So it's gonna take me a minute. I thought it was gonna get worse, to be honest with you. I basically got a little emotional when I started talking about my mom and my pop, who was out there, you know, and I guess I repeated so many times that the emotion got under control a little, you know what I'm saying? But I always get emotional when I talk about my mom and dad, you know. I had that great connection. Even if my mom passed away 20 years ago, I always had that great spirit and connection with her and my dad as well. Even this morning I was crying every time I touched bases about my mom. So I guess you just get to the point where repeating things over and over and over, I mean, it kind of cured a little, you know what I'm saying? And about my daughter, you know, I've been watching her since she was like 3 years old, you know, running around the house singing, in the car singing, everywhere we go singing, you know. So I've been watching her, you know, for a minute, singing the national anthem. Of course, it's very emotional, but I got that under control, you know, better.
Now all of these fans will head home, many of them heading on I-90 east back to Massachusetts, where they will resume the Red Sox season. Currently a bit of a disappointing run for the Sox, but a little fun to look forward to for sure. On Tuesday night, the Red Sox will honor their newest Hall of Famer, David Ortiz, in a pregame ceremony at Fenway Park. At the Baseball Hall of Fame inductions in Cooperstown, New York, I'm Tom Caron.
We'll have more from TC as the show goes on. Meanwhile, our Subaru star of the game, it's David Ortiz. One more time, right? Why not? So look at his Hall of Fame career, the numbers. These are just the regular season numbers for Big Papi. 541 home runs. Look at the career OPS, 931. 52 career home runs against the New York Yankees is the second, tied for the second most in a Red Sox uniform with Carl Yastrzemski, 10 behind Ted Williams. But Big Papi had like 369 fewer plate appearances to get to 52 home runs. So Big Papi inducted into the Hall of Fame. We will air his Hall of Fame speech in its entirety coming up. a little bit later. Former teammates of David Ortiz going yard today. Jackie Bradley Jr. Display of power brought to you by the Chevy Silverado. Experience one today at your local New England Chevy dealer. JBJ with his 3rd home run of the year and 2nd of the series. Not enough, though, as the Red Sox fall short once again of the Blue Jays and get swept aside by Toronto. That's our display of power brought to you by the dependable 2022 Chevy Silverado. Coming up, we will hear from Alex Cora after a very, very rough weekend at Fenway Park.
WB Mason Extra Innings,